Hi everyone and welcome to my channel, and today I've got a few albums to show you. First up, it's the self-titled album by The Bureau, which came out on WEA Records in 1981. And The Bureau consisted of 5 ex-members from Dexys Midnight Runners. They'd managed to fall out with Kevin Rowland and left the band en masse, and they were joined by 3 other people, including vocalist Archie Brown. They released 2 classic singles, Only for Sheep and Let Him Have It, neither of which charted here in the UK. And the album only came out in Canada, which is where my copy's from, and also in Australia. Mick Talbot, the keyboard player who went on to play with Style Council, is very underutilised on this album until the final 2 tracks, where he really does come alive. And those tracks are Elmer Bernstein's instrumental, The Carpetbaggers, where his keyboards are really prominent, and the final track, which is a jazz influenced number by the bassist Rob Jones, called Helpless. And it shows what direction that the band could have gone in to try and get away from the Dexys sound that they were associated with. But unfortunately WEA lost interest in the band and dropped them from the label. Next up, it is Rod Stewart's album Smiler, which came out on Mercury in 1974. It comes in a gatefold sleeve and an inner sleeve, which features Rod Stewart in a rather gaudy shirt. It's a pretty patchy album, as Rod Stewart was an infrequent songwriter. The 3 songs that he does contribute, Farewell, Sailor and Dixie Toot, are really good. And an album of, say, 8 Rod Stewart originals and a couple of interesting covers as well would have been a really good album. But unfortunately his choices of cover versions are quite lackluster at times. He's got a medley of a couple of Sam Cooke songs, a Chuck Berry number. Paul McCartney contributes a song which he wrote especially for the album called Mine for Me, and Elton John and Bernie Taupin also contribute a song, Let Me Be Your Car, but neither of those are particularly memorable songs. Next up, it's the album A Rare Conundrum by Bert Jansch, which was released on the Charisma label in 1977. Amongst the musicians on the album is the drummer Pick Withers from Dire Straits. Rod Clements, Lindisfarne's bassist, is also on the album and co-produces it, and Ralph McTell plays harmonica on a couple of tracks. It's a return to the folk roots of Bert Jansch and features his beautiful acoustic guitar picking, and on one track he plays the banjo. And that track, Doctor Doctor, is produced by his old colleague from Pentangle, Danny Thompson. It's a mix of traditional songs and Bert Jansch originals. It's let down, I suppose, for a lot of people by his vocals, which are a bit of an acquired taste, as his diction isn't very clear at times. But it's an album that I do quite like. And next it is Dave Edmunds' Repeat When Necessary, and this came out on Swan Song in 1979. And it's an album by Rockpile with Dave Edmunds taking the lead vocals. And at the same time as recording this, Rockpile did an album which came out under the heading of Nick Lowe called Labour of Lust. There's no Edmunds songs on this album. He wasn't much of a songwriter in any case, but he's very good at interpreting other artists and making their songs his own. So he does a, I think, definitive version of Girls Talk by Elvis Costello, Crawling from the Wreckage by Graham Parker, and Queen of Hearts by Hank DeVito. It's a bit too uniformly jaunty and impersonal, though, as an album to be classed as a classic, but it's a very enjoyable listen. And I was lucky enough actually to see Rockpile live around this period, and they were a fantastic live band. And next up it is the Angelic Upstarts and We Gotta Get Out of This Place. Just show you the details on the back. And this came out on Warner Brothers in 1980, and they were keeping UK street punk alive in 1980, and to be doing it on a major label as well, which is looking back now seems quite amazing. Although unfortunately they were actually dropped by the label after this album. The title track has a clever arrangement which really sort of emphasises the driving beat, and I think it's actually as strong, if not stronger, than the Animals version from the mid-60s, which everybody remembers. There's a relentless guitar riff on Police Oppression and Never and Nothing, which is the opening track on the album, is the sort of quintessential street punk sound which was developed by oi bands in the 80s. It's very influenced by the sound of The Clash and their first album, and tracks such as King Cole, Out of Control, Capital City and Police Oppression, they could all have come off The Clash's first album. It's politically charged anger which you rarely hear from bands today, and I think it stood up pretty well over the years. And Angelic Upstarts. Okay, that's it for today. I'm planning to load some more videos of old albums that I've got, so look out for those in the near future, and I hope you're all doing well. And yes, if you could consider subscribing as well if you haven't already, that would be really good. Okay, bye for now then.